Good evening. Welcome. So we're going to get started here. I'm Emily McClyman, and I'm the Youth Services Librarian here at the Public Library. And I've been working with a few people on this series, one of which is back here, Holly, on our police department. And then I have to plug our Friends of the Library, because they are helping sponsor the Waverly Exchange Club, and also the Kiwanis are also. So I have to plug them because they are generously donating to help make this possible. So tonight, thank you for being here. We all know that the digital world isn't a separate place anymore. It's where our kids live, learn, socialize. And while technology offers incredible opportunities for creativity and connection, it also moves at a pace that can leave even the most tech-savvy parents feeling a step behind. So you might be here because you're worried about how much time your child spends on a certain app, or maybe because you're concerned about who they could be talking to, or perhaps you're just tired of the screen time battle. But whatever brought you here, I wanted to start with a quick reminder that you don't have to be a coding expert to be a great digital parent. You just have to be a present one. Our goal tonight isn't to demonize technology or tell you to unplug everything at home. Instead, we brought together a panel of experts to help us move from policing our kids to partnering with them. We want this to be a conversation, not a lecture. So no question is too basic, no concern is too small. We're going to work together to make sure our kids are safe in their digital neighborhoods. We're going to start with some prepared questions for our panelists, and then after about 30 minutes or so, move into a Q&A with all of you, okay? So let's meet our panelists tonight. I'm going to have them introduce themselves, tell a little bit about what they do, and the perspective that they're bringing to the table tonight.
Hi, I'm Wendy Kepford. I work at Pathways Behavioral Services, and I provide mental health services for kids ages 2 to 18. So technology is a conversation we have on a regular basis for all the different ages, and I think starting really young is the time to start having those conversations and making plans.
Good evening. I'm Luke Bucknell with the Waverly Police Department. I'm the school's DARE instructor. I've been doing that for about 3 years. I've been in the classrooms for the last 6 weeks now. With that, you kind of see a lot of the technology that's involved with our youth nowadays. Throughout the job, too, we also investigate certain things that the children do online. So we do see quite a bit of things that we don't really want to think about when it comes to our children with technology. We also see the good that comes with it as well. It's not just all the negative. There are good things with technology as well. But yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Hi there. I'm Ryan, and I'm a librarian here at the Waverly Public Library. And primarily I'm here because I'm just also a parent, and I also have concerns. But I spend a lot of time with computers myself. I don't spend a lot of time with social media. I'll let you know that up front. But yeah, I'm hoping I'll also be here to learn.
All right, let's start with the foundation here. Looking at both the risks and the benefits of social media, at what age and under what conditions is a child truly ready to interact online? And how does this transition look when moving from a parent-supervised online usage to independent use online? That's a lot. But you can break it down, or we can talk about parts of it. We don't have to talk about all of it at once.
Okay, so one of the first things you're going to know is that if you have a little one, they're watching you. So if you have your phone out, if you have your iPad out, if you got the TV on, you're in front of the computer, they're seeing that from day one. And so it's fascinating to me that, when I get little toddlers in, that's the first thing they're going for is their parent's phone, because this is the interaction that their parents are doing all the time, and they want to imitate their parent. So it makes sense for them that, from 1, 2, 3, 4, they want that screen in front of them, just like mom and dad has in front of them, and they don't know how to regulate that yet. And so then your goal right at the very beginning is to make sure that you're not getting so enmeshed in your screen and that you're modeling good technology use for your child before they even get to the idea of social media. So I mean, that's a big question. That was my first part of it. So when does a kid get a phone? I mean, I see it younger and younger. I see, those 4-year-olds are constantly, I gave them my old phone. They have my tablet. They have this. And so it becomes the child's tablet from, a young age, 2, 3, 4. Some of these kids have tablets and phones. And the big piece is that as a parent, you need to be figuring out what your rules are for it, what's healthy for your child. All kids are different developmentally. All kids are different in terms of, their whether or not they're going to become addicted. Some kids are very susceptible to it, and some kids are kind of, I can take it or leave it. What other activities are you doing with your kids, in between to help show them other opportunities, other things they can be doing? So rule of thumb, you're going to see lots of stuff out there on the internet about what age they should have these screens and what ages they should be having social media. And I say Facebook, but I also know that's not what the kids are using anymore. That's not their thing. They're on TikToks and YouTubes, and I'm sure there's 10 other things I don't know about yet that are out there. I like the good rule of thumb that 8th, 9th grade is a good time to start introducing phones, and a lot of people are going to be freaking out about that because most of their kids have phones and things like that in elementary. But when we start talking about that mental health thing, technology has a big impact on your child's mental health. So it's something you don't want to just kind of let casually slip into their everyday lives, but you want to be planful about it and thinking about it ahead of time, as your kid is growing. What do I want my kid doing with their time? What do I want to introduce them to? How am I going to model that for them? So, I don't know. That was a lot. I didn't answer it all, but I'll pass it on. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback off of a little bit of what Wendy was saying. When we look at individuals having social media in younger grades, there's really no set enforceable age for social media. There is a federal age limit of 13 to have social media. However, all an individual has to do is lie about their age to get on. We look at Australia. They just changed their minimum age for social media use to 16. When it comes down to it, it's really about developmental readiness. What is their impulse control like? Are they able to hang up from the social media or from their phone or technology when they're asked to do something? Are they following down those rabbit holes, and is it hard for them to put the phone down at night to go to bed, to come do supper, to go do chores? Also, what is their social resilience like? Is it easy for them to just ignore something they see on social media? If they're speaking with an individual they might have just met, that individual stops talking to them. Is your child going to get upset, get heartbroken from that? Or even if they make a post on Instagram, Facebook, if that post gets little likes, 0 likes, how does that affect them? If you can see that that's affecting them, they're hanging their heads down, that's probably a good indication that they're not quite ready to have a social media account. I know those are kind of just the small things that we talked about. Wendy really went into the mental health aspect of things here. Trust and communication also plays a huge role in whether or not you think your child's ready to have a social media account. If they see something they might not like or might not agree with or thinks wrong, are they coming to you with that? If an individual is adding them or harassing them, bullying them, do they come to you about that stuff? Obviously, it's hard to know that when you don't know what's going on in their social media life. A great way to help kind of counter that is to not have any personal accounts. If they're under a certain age, don't let them have a personal account. Don't let them be able to see other people's stuff, to post stuff. when they get a little bit older, maybe have some shared passwords. Have that talk with them that this is for their safety. Eventually, when they get older, then they can change their passwords and go from there. But probably from, I would say, 13, 14 years old, have shared passwords with them. Our youth are more susceptible to addiction, whether that's through nicotine, alcohol, even social media. They're going to be susceptible to the addiction of getting all those likes on TikTok or all those likes on Instagram, Facebook. Be a parent. I know it's going to be tough to say in today's day and age, but you got to be a parent. You got to parent your child. And unfortunately, that's something that we do see in our job is a lot of parents aren't parenting. And that even comes to parenting on social media. It's a rough thing to say, but it's got to be said sometimes. So,
yeah, fantastic. Yeah, both of you have covered so much in that. Gosh, it is a big question. I would like to use this moment as a plug for what's the date of our devices conversation? On the 30th. Just because we talked about, or it was mentioned, the age of getting a device, and if someone really feels strongly like, but I need to be able to reach my child, and you want that ability without inviting the whole world into their life, we're not going to be able to go like one-on-one with everybody, but we'll talk about that there are options. I have locked down, it takes me a while of research, but I have locked down a few devices pretty dang tightly in my time. And, you know, she finds things, not because maliciously, my daughter, but she finds things and goes, hey, I figured out it does this. And then she's just like, fix it. Like, all right, thank you for telling me. But how did you figure that out? Yeah, so side plug there. I also think about, gosh, just how much is out there. I want to make sure I'm teaching my daughter how to search the internet, because it is a powerful tool. It does have a lot of information. It does have, I'm going off the internet. I need to focus on social media. I think that a lot of good information is on social media as well. You might not always think of Reddit or YouTube specifically as social media, but I get a lot of information off of those, and they are social media. They are a platform where even if you think you're just using it for information gathering, people end up interacting through those. And I think at any point when you think, is my child ready to, here's YouTube, go ahead and look for things, go ahead and, and you walk away. It's like, are you ready to drop them off in the Mall of America and walk away? And if you feel like, yeah, they would be okay for a while, then maybe they're getting to that point where they'd be, be ready for that. But if you think, no, I don't know what someone's going to tell, like set aside the whole kidnapping thing, but I don't know what someone's going to tell them. I don't know who they're going to interact with. I don't know. Then we probably need to be, still be interacting and walking them, guiding them through that process. I do think honesty, I'm really bluntly honest with my daughter about things, age appropriate, but she's getting to be older, so I'm able to talk to her more. I would love to, I'd love to I should just talk to more of you while you're in here, and I want to know what everyone else is doing with their kids, but I'm going to pass it back.
That's right, we're going to go this way. All right, parents are overwhelmed by the sheer number of apps. So from platforms claiming to have kid modes to hidden vault apps, how should families approach choosing safer platforms or vetting them or detecting hidden dangers? And are there actual safer options for introducing social media? And then kind of as a follow-up to think about is, if you've allowed an app already, how do you walk it back? if you decide, oh, wait, I would like to maybe not do that as much anymore, or not allow that? How do you walk it back with your family? You want to go? Okay.
Yeah, so in today's day and age, everyone's pretty much aware of what a digital footprint is. It pretty much follows us around everywhere. Anything we post, anything we say online comes back to us. Typically with our children, as well as really anybody, some no-go posts that we should really focus on is anything that has school logos, school locations, anything that might have your house in the picture, any description on where your house might be at, as well as like any geotags or live locations. Like you tag yourself in a certain spot. Stupid easy to do on social media. You put locations on it. Anything that's illegal, don't post that on social media. I know it sounds crazy. That's how we catch a lot of people. So if you're doing it, I guess do it, and we'll follow up with you. But if you don't want us to find out, don't do it. And obviously this goes without saying too, any nude or semi-nude photos. Those are gateways for predators to get in there for you. Obviously if something happens, if something falls out, don't panic. Delete the photo quick. Go about what you need to do that you think you need to do to get it taken down. You can report it. You can contact the social media platforms. There's also some websites out there that can help get that photo off the internet. I know it sounds crazy since it's the internet, it's forever, but you can go to, we call it NCMEC, it's NCMEC's Take It Down. You can put the photo on that and it'll scour the website or the internet for that photo and it'll take them off the websites. Is that correct, Holly? Is that how that works?
Basically it assigns a hash to that photo so that if that photo is uploaded on any of the partnering platforms, it would be ready.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, there's a
Yep.
sheet back in the back.
Yep, we do have.
So you can grab
Yep.
any of that back there too.
Yep.
just so you know. But that is an important site to know.
Absolutely. I mean, that's something that. So it's NCMEC. We have flyers back there for Take It Down. NCMEC, Take It Down. There's flyers back here. Yep.
Take it down. NCMEC.org.
Yep. When it comes to YouTube, I guess there's really it's up to you guys. YouTube Kids is a great thing for younger children. Obviously, kids are gonna want to watch YouTube. YouTube Kids. Got to be aware. AI is a pretty strong tool right now. You guys can about imagine the amount of things that AI can do. Voice cloning, even taking photos, a still shot of a YouTube video. Same with any posted on Facebook. It can clone a lot of things. When it comes to social media, you got to vet it. Is it a free app? What's the monetization part of it? Is your post the product of it? Is it moderated by humans or is it moderated by AI? AI can miss a lot of things, whether it's bullying or anything that's probably not generally what will be accepted in a human moderated app. Vault apps, for those of you who don't know, they're kind of like hidden apps. They can resemble other apps like a calculator app, a browser. Easy way to find these is just go to the settings, find the usage, see what your child's spending the most amount of time on for their apps. If there's multiple apps on the phone that, hey, there's 2 calculator apps on this phone, chances are it could be a Vault app.
And that means it would be like Instagram hiding and pretending to be.
Yep. Could be. Otherwise, there might be some other apps too. I know there's some apps you can change the appearance of them. So it really just kind of depends. It could be a social media tool. It could be some other app that your child probably should not have, especially if they're trying to hide it from a parent. So you can always deactivate the account. Don't just delete it. Deactivate it. And then if you're going on like Instagram or something, revoke the supervision and access to that account for your child.
Okay, he's talking about stuff I don't even know.
Different jobs.
Different jobs. The big thing is trust and communication. If you're having trouble with trust and communication with your kiddo, then social media is a whole nother level to that. So you want to make sure that those, early on, you're building that trust, you're building that communication, so that, when they accidentally stumble into something, they're like, hey, I don't think I'm supposed to have that they come to you and they say, I think you're supposed to delete this for me. I mean, that's where ultimately that you want to be at with your kids. That's idealistic, and it's hard, and sometimes when they're getting to be teenagers, they want to try out these new things. They want to, try out the vault apps or whatever. So if you have that knowledge, then you can do some scanning. Phones should be considered a privilege, not a right. And that's a big thing in our world, because a lot of parents will use them to track their kids, to figure out where they're going, for communication, to make sure they can come pick them up when they need to, if there's a problem or things like that. And those are important ways to use this tool, but it is a tool. And if you've got a kid that's not using the tool in the right way, then it's absolutely appropriate for you to reel it back in, And it's okay to say, hey, this is done for a while. We're not going to do this for a while because we noticed this or we noticed that. And starting those conversations about, what your expectations are, how they show and demonstrate that trust with you. Those are the pieces. And when you build up those building blocks, then when you get older, when they're in high school, especially when they're in late high school, they have to be able to have those independence. I mean, that's usually the goal when we have children, is we want to develop independent human beings, and they don't suddenly turn 18 and now you're independent. It's that's how that works. You're 18 and you're done. It's scaffolding them up there, so it's giving them an opportunity to try, sometimes to fail, and maybe there's consequences involved in that. But as parents, we also want to make sure that we're helping, so that maybe when they do post that illegal picture that gets posted, that there's some support, there's education, there's learning from it, not just punishment. So building that trust with your kids is an early roadblock, building block to managing the social media piece.
Thank you. So walking back, if you have allowed something, I feel like I wouldn't have too much trouble having that conversation to say, because I think something our kids have to know is what we've kind of learned over the years, that technology is constantly changing. The opportunities and threats are constantly changing. And so, just like Em and I were talking about a little bit ago, sometimes you have everything set up the way that you want on a site. You have, okay, they can post this or they can't post any of this, and no one from this group can contact them. You get it all set up, and then a new feature comes out. And I mean, this happens with businesses too. A corporation will have, certain restrictions and set up, and then all of a sudden one day a new feature comes out, and something they never intended employees to do, they can all do it, and they need to walk it back. That I would argue that's harder, actually. I think parenting in this one case is maybe easier to say, hey, you know what? We gave you access to this, and either A, you didn't use it the way you're supposed to, or B, there's this new threat. And I think the thing I struggle with the most in that is, and maybe I'm going to ask you both to answer. I think you both would have a great answer for this. What I struggle with, my daughter's 12, and really I'm starting to open up more about the cruel, hard reality of the world. But how do you decide what ages and what stage of development, like age isn't just a number, but like what stage of development do you figure out, like, yep, you can't do this because it's for when you're older, versus, yep, you can't do this because this specific scary thing exists. And here's what you need to know about this thing. Because like you said, we can't just assume that we can hide our kids away from the world, and then the moment they're old enough to move out, go, phew, now they can go figure it all out. Because I don't know that that would end well.
So,
I guess the question being, how do you determine when you can be more specific?
it's very individual. I mean,
That's a good answer.
yeah, I mean, because one 12-year-old is not the same as another 12-year-old. And some of them have different levels of maturity. Some of them are less resilient. Some of them are more fearful. You want to give kids a reality of what the world is and what it isn't. You want to give them that sense of safety, but you also want to encourage them to explore it. So, it's like the parents that struggle to, send their kids down the block to the park by themselves. It's like, how are they ever going to learn to do something independently unless you let them try? And so you really have to let them try. When there's a difficult question, whether it's, death or sex or anything like that, you give them a little bit of information, see how they take it. And if that answers their questions, then you're like, okay, we're good. If they continue to have more questions, then you keep giving them more information until they say, oh, okay, thanks, and they walk away. Kids are usually pretty good about letting you know when you've kind of gone too far. When it's those difficult conversations, they're usually pretty good. They'll get the blank look on their face and they'll start getting distracted or whatever. So kids will usually give you some pretty good clues of, yeah, can we not talk about this anymore? Because you've reached what they're at for development or whatever. So is that what you were going for?
I think that's great.
Okay.
We'll leave it at that then.
All right, I think we got time for one more, and then we're going to open it up, okay? All right, online grooming and predators remain a top fear for parents. So what are the current tactics, red flags, maybe stories you actually have that we need to watch for? And how do we empower our children to detect and avoid these dangers without making them completely terrified? Kind of plays off of what we just talked about a little bit. You want to go? Okay.
Yeah, so obviously this isn't something we see all the time, but it is out there. A lot of apps that they can use for this stuff, maybe it's Roblox, Discord, stuff like that, Snapchat. If a predator does come in contact with a younger child on one of these apps, they're going to try to get to a different app quickly to kind of continue on that conversation with a sense of urgency. A red flag you guys can kind of look for is, are they distancing from their peers? Are they tilting their phones a little bit more than what they used to? Maybe they have a sudden wealth. Maybe that would be an indication of, okay, where are they getting this money from? Are they sending photos for Cash App? We've had a couple of those cases here in town. Are they present with the conversation? A lot of times predators will be kind of saying that they're the only one that understands the problems that these children are going through. Whether they're lonely, have low self-esteem, maybe have a little bit of family stress going on in their life. Big thing to tell your kids here is to never keep secrets from them. If something doesn't seem right, tell them they can come to you with anything and not get in trouble. If you yell at your kids for, why are you talking to this individual online all the time? And obviously there are situations where you do have to, yell at your kids for that stuff because you don't want them to do that. But if they're coming to you with a problem and you're just going to yell at them in return, they're probably going to go back to talking to that individual. Help them come to a solution. Let them know that they can come to you with issues and they won't get in trouble because they're coming to you for help. Tell them never to trade photos for trades, whether that's a monetary value, maybe in a game value. With a lot of games, you can buy skins for your character in the game. Don't want them to trade photos, even if it's like a face photo of them. We don't want any photos of these kids going to anybody for any reason. If something does get out, use the take it down tool that we got on the flyer back there. So that's pretty much all I wrote down. So.
No, sorry. Can you give a little more about, like, legally what that could mean for a kid if they sent photos, or, I don't know, like, what would, say they call you at the police department or whatever, what would happen?
Yes. So we'd launch an investigation into it. A lot of times we don't like to charge the victim in this case. It is technically illegal, but we're not going to go after the child for sending photos like this. We're here to help them. We just hope you guys report it if it does happen. That way we can help you guys and get the photos taken down that we need to. So does that kind of help, Emily?
Yeah.
Okay.
And tell, like, so this photo gets out there and they don't call you, what could happen with the photo?
Yeah. So
I want you to describe.
predators can use that to kind of get into certain sites that are more filled with child pornography or child sexual explicit material. With that, this photo can go anywhere. It can be on anybody's computer if we don't get it taken down. These photos can be used as sextortion, which could ultimately end up with your child taking their own life. So if they are experiencing sextortion, again, let them know that they can come to you for these situations, that they won't get in trouble for sending a nude photograph to somebody. Because ultimately, we've had a lot of cases, not necessarily in Waverly, but around the world, where younger individuals have sent nude photographs to people, and now they're pressured into sending other things. Otherwise, these photos are going to get sent around, sent to their peers, parents, teachers, friends, and ultimately, they film themselves taking their own lives. And it's a hard thing to think about as a parent, but you got to be there. You got to let them come to you with these things so you guys can help fix them.
I know they're talking about, or Holly about it, like how the time element.
Yeah, the time element, it's pretty quick. Sometimes it might be 30 minutes, sometimes it might be 2 hours. It's a very quick process. They do it with a sense of urgency. That way they don't think to go get help or go talk to a parent thinking this isn't right. Same thing when we see scams with elderly. They do it quickly so they don't have time to think that, hey, my grandson's not in jail. Why should I have to pay his bail? When you have that sense of urgency, these kids feel like they're all alone and they have to do this. They have to comply. Otherwise, these photos are going to send out by the time they go talk to their parents. Talk to your kids. Let them know that they need to come to you for this stuff. It kind of varies from situation to situation, but these things don't last long. From the time they first start messaging to the time that some of them end up taking their own life. Like I said, 30 minutes to 2 hours. So, from my understanding, it's Discord, Roblox, and Snapchat. Usually there's more. I can't name them off the top of my head, but those are three pretty common ones that can start those situations. Well, yeah, sextortion can be either real photographs of them or AI photographs of them. All they need is a face photo of you, and then they can create whatever photo for the rest of your body they want to. So I mean, that's why we try to discourage posts on Facebook, especially even parents post with your children in them. I know it might sound innocent, but you're showing your young children, and there's predators out there. It's pretty easy to find profiles that aren't locked on Facebook, to where I can go to probably half of your guys' Facebooks at least and find every single one of your posts you guys have ever made. If you locked your profile, only your friends can see your posts. So I mean, sextortion can come from whether it's an AI generated photograph or a photograph your child might have sent them. So.
Usually switching platforms too. So if it's a gaming platform where you're in first contact with them, then it's switching over to a messaging app. Or if you're somehow when you check with them on a social media app, it's switching over to a gaming app. Wherever it starts, it's always going to move platforms.
Yep.
It's harder to trace. Yeah, it's harder to follow.
Harder to follow, and it shows them that the kids are willing to continue that conversation and listen to what they say. So.
And it could be moving from something that's not encrypted to something that is encrypted.
Yep.
Just a quick question on, if you can explain the whole thing about the skins.
Yeah.
Just need a little bit of
Right.
understanding
So,
of that.
for in gaming platforms, you have characters, right? A skin would be like maybe changing your character to like a dog or to a king, or anything with different clothing, a different appearance, stuff like that. So it's not like legit skin. It's just different character style.
Safe or not safe?
Changing your skins is safe. Yep, it's typically something that you can do in any game, whether it's Minecraft, Fortnite, Call of Duty. You can do it in pretty much anything. Either some of them are free, some of them cost money. So maybe there's a skin that your child really wants in that game to look cool, fall into peer pressure. That skin might be $10. Well, they don't have $10, and mom and dad have already given me all the money that they're willing to this week. This person's willing to buy it for me. So it really kind of just varies. So, yeah. I can't answer that for sure. I know if you don't want your child in any photos, you can always reach out to the school and put your child on a no photo list. You might have to fill out some forms, but the school's generally obliged by that to where they won't post any photos online with your child in it.
You're filling that out during registration.
Okay.
You don't admit that.
I don't have a child in school, so I wouldn't know that stuff. So.
There's part of registration where you're saying whether or not you allow photo depiction release of your children.
Yeah, like I said, it's not very common. We don't generally see this, but I mean, I guess there's that possibility. Again, we don't generally see it though. So.
I have two daughters, and I have had the biological parents find a picture on the library website and put it on their Facebook. And I was like, where did we get that picture from? It was from the library. So, I mean, it does happen everywhere.
Yeah. And maybe it's not for the sextortion part or the bad stuff. Maybe it is just biological parents finding it. So, or grandparents you don't speak to. So.
Did you want to go to questions or? Okay. That was fine. It's good stuff. Mental health center. We provide children's mental health services.
So, there's a lot of external threats to our kids through social media.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's also a lot of internal threats, and specifically what I mean by that, obviously mental health issues, but where I'm going with social media is the addictive component, and
Yep.
particularly the shorts.
Yes.
And, what we haven't talked about is the rewiring
Yep.
that's happening to not only children, but adults, because of the dopamine
Yep.
hits. And, you can't argue the science that exists today. I spend a lot of time reading and learning about this, so I'm very passionate about it. You can't argue what's happening. And so there's an internal threat that we haven't talked about that's going on. And we all know, even as adults, right? Like, you get caught up in that stuff and you just keep, and they've built that to addict us. It's built intentionally to do that. And so, are you seeing, that's all just factual.
Right.
Are you seeing those kids and those people?
We are.
into pathways
Yes.
that addictive? It's like cocaine. It's as addictive as cocaine.
Right. And here's the thing that I am talking with a lot of my parents of young kids is that well, they only have 2 hours of screen time a day or whatever. But what kind of TV and what kind of shows are they watching? I'm going to put myself on the spot, but if you think about some of the old school shows, Bugs Bunny, Mickey Mouse, things like that, the development of them did not have that addictive quality to it. And now we see, I think it's Coco Melon, I think is one of the top ones, that they have gotten into the algorithms of how they develop the show so that they know, like, I think it's like a 10-second. If every 10 seconds they do something that pops the adrenaline in your brain, and so then it creates that addiction. And so the kids are waiting, and it's 10 seconds, and then, 10 seconds. Whereas, old school wise, if we're watching a little bit of Bugs Bunny or whatever, they did not have that. So, I'm watching Bugs Bunny, and my mom yells at me, and I'm like, oh, okay, and I can go. But they're getting to the point now where they know how to mess with all those algorithms, which I don't get, and get the kids so that they just can't give it up, because it's becoming like that cocaine. So, if your kid's going to watch TV, think about which shows they're watching. Do the research into, which ones are giving that adrenaline rush and which ones are a little more, calm and things like that. There's good things about technology. There's good things about being able to, learn things on the computer or learn things with your tablet or things like that. That's not an all bad thing. But you have to monitor it. You have to manage what your kids are watching, how much access they're getting. Are they balancing that with other activities? One of the things we see is that social skill development, because we're communicating via text, Instagram, Messenger, the one that disappears, Snapchat. I don't get it. My kids still say I don't get it. You're using it wrong. They're communicating that way, and kids will say amazing things via a text message or something like that they would never tell somebody to their face, or they would never tell them on the telephone. The amount of kids we get in that don't want to make a phone call. Grammy, I don't love making phone calls, but I know how to make a phone call and do it appropriately. And our kids, a lot of them, not making that phone call. And when you think about them growing up, being adults, you got to make phone calls. You got to call your kid's teacher. You got to call the library about the overdue book. You have to do these. You have to have these social interactions. And the more time that our kids are spending with their internet world and their internet friends, the less skills they're developing for those direct, relationships. And both can be important. And for some people, it's higher importance than others, but we also have to find ways to make sure our kids are being able to develop both kinds of relationships, both in real life and in an internet life friendships, because it's a skill. We don't just know how to socialize, we learn it. It's a skill, and the kids still have to learn that skill. And so when they don't learn that skill, we're talking about increases in anxiety, social issues, depression. All of those things start coming out when we're not interacting in real life. So, yeah.
Beyond the mental health and social aspect is in the brain rewiring.
Yep.
What's happening is we are changing the brain's neural pathways such that kids can't focus.
Yeah.
The executive function of the
Mhm.
prefrontal cortex is being rewired from a young age, and they simply can't. And then they're being asked to do things in school, and that's true for adults too. We've got the brain studies that show what happens
Yeah.
with lots of stimulation like that, what it does to the brain. And so now we ask them to concentrate and focus and do these things that take a higher level executive function processing of
Yeah.
the brain in between.
They can't.
And then they're getting in trouble, they're failing, they're making it about the child, when in fact, it's really about what we've allowed to happen to them
Right.
by the time we got to that point. And that's happening to adults as well as kids. of all
Right.
ages. And
Yeah.
so we're just being very, very discerning and educating ourselves.
Yeah, there's lots of research out there, and finally people are starting to pay attention to it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've heard you mention, and several of you folks and our attention span as their dollars. So my question is, what resources and specifically organizations have you found that are like bringing folks together to potentially do something about this? Because as an individual, I feel pretty helpless. How are people gathering together to fight this?
I think it's things like this and getting parents educated, working with our early childhood population so that, we're not getting to high school and middle school and we're having these problems, but we're proactively addressing it, and how much screen time they have at school, how much time they're on their tablets at school, how much time the TV's on at daycare. Those are all important conversations. So we want to get parents and educators and community members communicating about those things, as soon as possible. If you have more.
So I'm not necessarily aware of any programs that you can do to help fight this stuff. Really, it's going to be a fight at home. Really monitor what your child is doing online. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. There was a case in 2017 where the case of Molly Brussel. She's from UK. I believe she was in her teens. She ended up taking her own life because Instagram ended up forcing down depressing and self-harm videos, which ultimately ended up leading to her death. And the investigation into her death revealed that her algorithm was forcing those things down her throat. Once you're on that stuff, it's kind of hard to get off. If you show two different phones on TikTok, if you look up why cats are the best, and on the other phone you look up why dogs are the best, both phones are going to show exactly what you want to see to get to your point. It's crazy to think about. There's so many videos out there for that specific thing. You wouldn't think that there'd be so many photos or videos as to why cats are great. I can't. So, but I mean, it's anything your child can search. Those algorithms are gonna start filling your feed with videos on that stuff. So it's very important to really monitor what apps your child's using, what content they're looking up. And Instagram might seem peaceful and not as bad as what you might think, but there's a lot of bad stuff in those reels. So unfortunately, there's really no way for yourself to fight those algorithms other than just deactivating the account. Show the algorithm or show the companies that we're not gonna watch your videos because they're bad.
I think just piggybacking off that, there's things that you can do individually with your own accounts, and then therefore your children and their accounts, to where even if you, I set screen time on myself. I set screen time on my kids, but I set it on myself too. I have a downtime set, so my phone goes down at a certain time. Fortunately, I'm not addicted to TikTok, but
Guilty.
if I were, then I would have a screen limit set on TikTok, because I think that's the most annoying thing is when somebody loses an hour and that's all they did was flip through stupid videos. I've seen a coworker that set his settings on his phone to black and white, because it's visually less stimulating, so you don't spend as much time looking at it if it's black and white versus color.
another couple things in terms of getting back to how do we fight this. I don't know that you can fight it at the, big billionaire level, but like there's a movement called Reconnect. What's it? I just looked it up. Reconnect movement, and so there's like colleges that are starting grassroots level, young people trying to get rid of the phones and reconnect socially. Go back to the things that like we would have been doing on the college campuses, and the social interactions, and go throw a football around and things like that. So that's actually being started, I think, here in Iowa, and then growing into a national movement as well, I'm pretty sure. And then there's also movements and grassroots movements where parents are saying, let's get landlines for our phones and have kids be able to connect with each other over landline. And so that's pretty exciting to, 10-year-olds who have not had that available to them. And so it's parents that are organizing together to say, let's not do this. And they put the landlines in, and then all the neighborhoods connected, and the kids can call each other like we would have done back in the old. I'm old, right? And so I know that's another way that people are kind of trying to fight this at a personal level as opposed to the. Yeah.
The Wi-Fi on the phone, and they have to dial it.
Yeah.
And if your neighbor owns a VPN, the kids can call each other free. Otherwise, it's $10 a month for the kids to dial RAM on without a VPN.
And another thing is just we're having, it's amazing what they've done, and they have Officer Gomez coming, and I have followed him for years, and if you're not on Facebook with him, it's just the absolute best resource and the absolute best way to educate yourself, in my opinion. I've taken information from a lot of places around this topic, but Officer Gomez is coming the end of the month. There's a phenomenal opportunity. Get your friends and family and get them here to listen to him. And he's got lots of things on his. Thank you.
March
Thank
23rd.
you. Yeah. Pardon me?
March 23rd.
Yeah. Okay. March 23rd.
Monday night.
I don't mean to be a mouthpiece, but I need to be a mouthpiece.
No, that's
for
okay.
him.
No, I'm glad you bring
It's
it up.
phenomenal. The information he has available and the way you can educate yourself, and then also be educating your kids. I've been doing this for a lifetime with my kids, and I'm just always talking to them, always talking to them, always talking to them about these things. So it's not just, no, you can't. It's this is why. And bringing in experts and information and things like that so that they know, and then I don't have that kind of pushback. So,
I think it's important that they know. If they're old enough to have it, then they're old enough to know why they shouldn't be doing certain things.
See, that's a
why
good
they
answer,
don't like
too.
to do certain things.
We didn't talk about monitoring. We didn't talk about monitoring your kids and their tablet and their phone usage, and I think that's something that's kind of been tickling on my brain, that we give them these phones, but you got to have some rules behind it. You really do. A lot of times, if you're buying the phone, our rule was always, we're buying the phone. When I want to see it, you give it to me. That does not mean that you should be deep diving into your kid's text to their best friend, unless there's a significant trust issue that, hey, something's going down with this kid. I'm going to take a peek at these texts. So usually my experience has been is the kid knows that they have to turn in their phone to you every night, and you can have access to it at any point in time. You'll be able to quickly scroll through things and take a look. And back in the days, we'd check out the Netflix to see what our boys were watching, and then have conversations about why we wouldn't watch certain things. And that was powerful. You have that one conversation about why that's a vaguely inappropriate movie, and they're like, yeah, I'm not going to watch that anymore. My mom knows, because then I'll have to have that conversation with her. So if you're having those conversations, then it's not a big deal. They'll turn in the phone. They're not going to be texting things. Now, there's that whole Vault app thing. If you're peeking in those phones, you're going, hey, there is 2 calculator apps. And, if you've educated yourself, you kind of know. But you want to monitor that stuff, whether they're on the computer or their phones or whatever, making a basic rule about, I get to see what you got going on there. And then we're going to have a good discussion. We're not going to punish, and we're not going to yell and scream, but we're going to have a discussion about, why would that, be an inappropriate thing to do? Or why would that be disrespectful to other people of different races or different sexes or things like that? So you're having those conversations, and you're not, it's just like, well, I didn't like what you did on what you said. You're grounded. You want to have that conversation. You want to open up that communication, because eventually they're going to turn 18. They're going to be independent people. You want them having those thinking skills about why we wouldn't or would do something. So that was just, anyway, questions people had, any thoughts about monitoring.
And something I've heard that I just wanted to hear tonight in all of this is something that Zach, I appreciate, who works here. You all know him. You mostly probably all know him. Something he says a lot is how many problems we can solve just through talking with one another as adults, with parents, as parents, and I think something I've heard through what you were saying earlier tonight, about, predators who convince them, our children, that they are the only people that understand their problems. But if our children, everyone can feel disconnected sometimes, but if our children can feel safe and feel able to be heard with us, then that's a huge protection and shield. And like you were saying, if we're going to have these uncomfortable conversations about if our behavior is, is out in the open and we can see it and talk about it openly, gently, but seriously, then I think that's huge. And also just always a struggle, but always like figuring out, not only is there a thing that is attractive, to sit there and get those dopamine hits, but you can't just take that away and leave a void. We also have to step in and kind of be that amazing, attractive thing that, hey, you can actually interact with me. And I don't know, maybe this is naive coming from the parent of a 12-year-old. I don't know what the next few years hold, but I would like to be optimistic. So.
It's your last chance to ask a question anymore. Otherwise, I think let's give our panelists a round of applause for coming tonight. And you all should thank yourselves for coming, because it is important work, and I think you all, obviously, just by being here, are on the right track, right? So that's awesome. So next week we don't have one. I know that originally we had planned to, but next week we don't have one because there's a 5th through 12th grade band concert locally that would wipe many of us out, I think. But the 16th we will, and it's on online gaming safety. So we'll have TJ Nissen, who creates game worlds in Minecraft. It lives online practically. He's very knowledgeable. We will have Matt Nelson, who's the tech specialist for the school district. And we will have Jennifer Adams, who also really specializes in the mental health for gaming stuff. So did I miss anyone? Ryan will be moderating that one because he'll be great at it. So that will be on the 16th, 23rd, Officer Gomez. And then the 30th, the devices and actually practical locking things down, kind of. So you can bring devices and do as we do. So yeah, we look forward to you attending any and all of that, okay? Spread the word. Thank you. Oh, and just a second. In the back, there are lots of handouts that Holly brought, so check that out if you want, and I can make more copies if we need. Colleen, you had a question? Always. Yes, always at 6:30. Yes. And Officer Gomez will have the full space because I know that one will have more attention. Oh, and there will be childcare during the Officer Gomez one out in the youth area. Childcare in the youth area. Just for that one, for the Officer Gomez one. So the middle school ambassador team will have, and I'll be out there with them. So, okay.